With Monday Night Football being two NFC teams, we can jumpstart another It's Never Too Early look at the AFC after 2 weeks of action. Fair warning, this is a results-driven mathematical analysis. The computer doesn't know which teams are supposed to be good or bad. The odds and projections discussed are likely not going to be aligned with betting odds or expert predictions. With that being said, the team in the AFC with the highest statistical chance to make the playoffs remains.
We're number one. We're number one. We're number one.
The Houston Texans. And it's really not all that close. You would be hard-pressed to draw up a better start for a team. 2-0 to begin the season after their Sunday Night Football win over the Bears. One of those victories over a division opponent, but to have every other AFC South team start 0-2 is like a fantasy. The NFC maintain its 2-game lead over the AFC in interconference play, so 2-0 in the AFC is ever so slightly more valuable as well. All this adds up to the Texans already being better than a 50-50 shot in the mathematical odds department to win the division, and 2 out of 3 to make the playoffs. It is obviously still early, but the obviously still early projections have 9 wins being enough to have a chance to win the AFC South, with 10 wins being a very safe number to do so, and 9 wins being the mark to aim for a wild card spot. So in theory, the Texans should just need to play around 500 football the rest of the season to be playoff bound. They continue their NFC North sparring with the Vikings this week. In the number 2 slot is our old fantasy football nemesis Arthur Smith, now hampering the offense of the Pittsburgh Steelers. But who needs offense when one plays the Broncos? Defense will more than suffice to join the 2-0 club. That gives them a conference win and one head-to-head chit to bank. And if you know anything about the NFL playoff races, you know how important these tiebreaker thingies are. Rarely are tiebreakers not involved in determining who is going to the playoffs. With their 2 wins being double what the rest of the division has, only the Browns have another one, the Steelers also enjoy nice odds to win the division, currently 45%, and are close to 2 out of 3 chance to make the playoffs. The computer guesstimate for the AFC North is also 9 to 10 wins, meaning if all goes to statistical probability, the Steelers also should just need to play around 500 the rest of the way to go onwards. They host the surprising 2-0 Chargers this week, so another important conference game. Number 3 on the list is the Buffalo Bills, who beat the stuffing out of the Dolphins on Thursday. That, of course, gave them a division win. They now will bounce around the AFC with a game with Jacksonville before a road trip to Baltimore, Houston, and Jetsland. With the other 3 in the AFC East sitting at 1-1, the early estimate for wins needed here is 9 to 11, giving the Bills a bit shy of 40% statistical odds to win the division and also close to 2 out of 3 to make the playoffs. Rounding out the top 4 are the aforementioned surprising Los Angeles Chargers. Well, okay, I don't know how surprising it is that they beat the Raiders and Panthers to get to that 2-0, but wins are wins. They share the AFC West division lead with the Chiefs, the division win giving the Chargers the ever so minuscule technical advantage in the odds. Early guess for the AFC West is the commonplace 9 to 11 wins. Chargers at 37% to win the division and 63% to make the playoffs. However, their fluff schedule to start the year comes to a screeching halt. Travel to Pittsburgh and then host the Chiefs. Before moving on, if you are like me and want to know exactly where your fantasy football team stands, useful for deciding whether you need to make those big trades or waiver pickups. Check out the Playoff Computer app on the Play Store. It has all sorts of geeky stuff, including the NFL style pass to clinch, so you know what matters. It is what I am using for the base of this analysis. Next up are the Super Bowl champion Chiefs, sitting at number 5. Their early claim to fame is 2 conference wins over the Ravens and Bengals. Now, if the Ravens and Bengals continue their 0-2 inspired trend, then those head-to-head wins won't matter much. But the conference record sure can be useful. They sit at 35% for the division and 63% for the playoffs. Travel to Atlanta this week. Moving on to the 1-1 teams, believe it or not, the Cleveland Browns are in the best mathematical position of the bunch. Their defense beat the Jaguars to notch a conference win. With the Ravens and Bengals at 0-2, they're the only team tailgating the Steelers in the AFC North. Division odds are a buck over 1-4, with playoff odds sitting at 45%. They host the Giants this week before away games at Vegas and Washington. So even if Deshaun isn't motivated, they still have a decent chance to be 3-2 or even 4-1. The Jets come up next. Aaron Rodgers got his first win for them over the Titans, so now 1-0 in the conference. As part of the crowd in the AFC East sitting at 1-1 looking up at the Bills, their division odds are just about 1-5, playoff odds 44%. Host the Patriots this week. Guess that will help us sort out which one is the pretender. And those Patriots are next on the list. Heartbreaking loss to the Seahawks. Wasn't a conference game, so that mutes the pain slightly. Playoff odds are right back to where every team started the year with at 43%. Also about 1-5 to win the division. After the Jets, they do travel to San Francisco. The Dolphins come in at number 9, but they have more serious concerns than where they are on this list. Anyway, with the loss to the Bills, that division loss puts their odds a little lower than the Patriots and Jets, 19%, with 42 on the playoff odds. Seahawks, Titans, Patriots on tap before their bye, so maybe there's hope to survive with a backup QB for a few weeks. Las Vegas Raiders with the upset over the Ravens to liven things up. Evens their conference record. Still have the division loss to the Chargers. Trailing 2-0 teams puts their division odds at 17%. Playoff odds about the same as the rest of the 1-1 teams. Call it 42%. They get the Panthers punchy bag this week, so a good chance to stay in the picture. The Jacksonville Jaguars, one of 3 AFC teams at 0-2, in which both losses have been conference games. That certainly is not a recipe for success. If there is any good news, it is that only the Texans have any wins in the division, so just one team to chase. The bad news is they face the Bills this week in Buffalo. Texans after that in Houston. The Titans come in next. That the computer put the Jaguars slightly ahead of them, although the Titans' conference record is just 0-1. Must mean that there is some remaining schedule nuances that favor the Jaguars slightly. 17% to win the division, 28% to make the playoffs. Packers up next, and then the Dolphins before their bye. The disappointing Bengals are the second team in the AFC of 2 conference losses to start out the year. Down to a 15% division chance and a bit above 1-4 to make the playoffs. Fortunately for them, their next two are the Commanders and Panthers, so they could start with a clean slate soon. The even more disappointing Ravens are the third team in the AFC of two conference losses already. I mentioned last week the game against the Raiders was sort of a must-win as they now get to play the Cowboys and Bills. I guess if they use the Saints battle plan, the Cowboys won't be a problem. Otherwise, they might be sitting at 0-4 soon. The Colts come in one step above the cellar on the list. The division loss adding to the woes of an 0-2 team in the AFC South. Host the Bears this week, so that should be an entertaining quarterback battle. Maybe not textbook quarterback play, but entertaining nevertheless. Last, and I guess least as well, the Denver Broncos and their overrated coach are 0-2 in the only AFC division with two 2-0 teams. That gives them a spectacular 11% chance to win the division, 26% to make the playoffs. On the bright side, next four of Bucks, Jets, Raiders, and Chargers are at least doable on paper. Due to some logistical issues, it is unlikely there will be a video for next week. Hopefully I can put out the weekly summary still, which of course, if you don't want to listen to me droning on about what tiebreaker advantages and disadvantages each team has, you can check out at any time on Reddit. Otherwise, that is it for now. Enjoy your day.